What's actually misunderstood very often is that Maslow and the Blackfoot indigenous tribe that inspired Maslow, they never intended it to stop at self-actualization. It's really been people don't know this right now, but we, myself and my colleagues, are actually working on building a wise AI. You have to be willing to take the advice of an AI in order for it to help you be wise. Now, what would help you feel comfortable taking advice from an AI?
Following is a conversation with Parnell. Bally is a world-renowned speaker, a visionary leader, and a digital well-being pioneer, and the founder of both SkillsCamp and Center for Digital Wellbeing. She has worked with the United Nations, shared stages with the head of states. This is Sanjeev Ranjan podcast, and here is Bally.
Hi, Belly. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I would like to know about your views on how social media is impacting our society. What are its good impacts? What are its bad impacts? And yeah, so could you please enlighten us?
Yeah, no problem. And I think it would be useful for your listeners to understand a little bit about my background so that my answers make a little bit more sense to you. So, I started researching social media's impact on mental health about a decade ago. And over the decade, that kind of expanded beyond social media to other forms of technology, and it expanded beyond mental health to other areas of our life. How does it affect society and democracy and schooling and all these sorts of things? And in the last few years, my work has really focused on generative AI. And I'm currently doing a doctorate studying how generative AI could and should support leaders in being better leaders. But the other half of my life, and I know this is going to come up today, is that my main day-to-day business is called SkillsCamp, and it is a soft skills and leadership development company. So we do learning development design, but primarily in areas like resilience and communication skills and emotional intelligence and whatnot. So I think it's good for you to understand my background, because as we start to talk about social media, its effects on society, us, technology, know that I come at this from a social sciences perspective and really from the humanities. So for everyone listening, I'm not going to tell you how social media and AI is coded today, but we will talk about the effects that it has on societies and people and how we experience those technologies is more my focus. So to your question about how social media is affecting society, well, it's very much an ongoing answer, isn't it? Because in the grand scheme of things, this is a relatively recent technology. In that we really only had like public dissemination in the last 15 years, we know that it wasn't, goes a little bit further than that, but for actual use for everybody, let's say 15 years. And that is not enough time to see how this is going to have an ending, lasting impact on humanity. But of course, we can already see, and you, everyone listening, can feel the consequences of social media on your own society. So I would say that it's neither good nor bad, because even though a lot of us, when I ask adults who's probably listening and I say oh, do you think that social media has been good or bad? A lot of them jump to bad, actually. A lot of them jump to what they can feel they have lost, or they worry about the kids and they're like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel good for people. However, and I can see that too. I can definitely see what's going wrong, and I'm sure we'll spend some time there. But there's also a lot of good here that's happened because of this. And I would be a total hypocrite if I said, everybody needs to get off social media, because I myself experience benefits of being present there, like being able to connect with people like you from around the world and learning and I get business from there. I make friendships. I get inspired by people. I get to see people's lived experiences that I never would have otherwise gotten to see if I didn't have a window into somebody sharing it on the other side of the planet. So these benefits, I think, have worked for a lot of people. But then you've got a lot of risk here as well. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And a lot of my work, I didn't mention at the beginning that I also have a nonprofit called the Center for Digital Wellbeing, which teaches about this stuff. And a lot of the work that we do is focused on risk mitigation, or essentially how do we get some of the good of this with less of the bad. The things that concern me the most right now are probably the spread of misinformation and disinformation and polarization as a result of this, the filter bubbles, echo chambers. This is the idea that what you like and what you share, more of that is fed back to you. And oh, if any of that is fake news, then you will get more of that pressed back to you. And I don't think that humans right now, increasingly so with AI, have the detective skills or even tech skills to be able to distinguish when something is fake or not. That worries me the most, I got to be honest, because democracies are built on a shared understanding of truth. And if we can't get a hold of this misinformation, disinformation, well, I'm worried about the foundations of democracy. Actually,
Yeah. So it seems like social media is impacting every sphere of our life, like political system, social, of course,
mhm.
and
Yeah. I mean,
nothing is.
from a philosophical level, this was always going to be the extension of humans. So, like the reason why humans and sapiens were successful as a species was because we were able to communicate with each other and collaborate as a result. And so I think we were only ever heading in the direction of being more connected and making use of that information. Now, whether or not I think we're getting to a point now maybe where our brains cannot compute the level of connectivity that we have. And it's almost like you may have heard before, like, oh, we've got a version 7 brain in a version 13 world. Up until November 2022, I was really worried about how some of the most powerful leaders in the world were going to be able to handle this level of really what I would say this level of compute that's needed in the brain to navigate the level of complexity that comes from increased communication and collaboration. But what happened in November 2022 was the public release of ChatGPT and OpenAI and everything that's happened since. Why AI is so inspiring to me, even though I'm very aware of the risks there too, is because I feel that we have extended our intellect in a way where we can actually work with AI to have the level of compute that our brains need in order to make good, sage decisions in a complex VUCA world.
Yeah, that's very true. But in in the process of developing decision making capability, there are several steps. People fail, then try to find why they fail, and they probably
Mhm.
innovate something new, and then they keep on stepping on the ladder of becoming better decision maker or wiser or more balanced as a person. And if ChatGPT takes that away from us, does that mean that if some very new scenario comes, which is not in ChatGPT, something very new out of box, then everybody in the world will be clueless about that because they will not have they do not have that journey to become a better decision maker, because that simply has been exported or replaced by ChatGPT. So what I meant that if we just rely on ChatGPT for our decisions
Mhm.
to get the better and quick decisions, and we do it for longer period of time, then that means we are losing our own decision making capabilities. It's
Mm.
similar to going to the gym, because if we work all the day and we do not do a lot of movement, body movement. And then in order to be fit, we
Mm.
go to gym, which was a bit different in the history, because in the past people were doing more physical work and they did not need that much gym. So in the same way, when we apply it to our mental faculties, so if ChatGPT is going to do most of the work which our mind do now, then how we are going to keep maintaining same level of.
I think I understand that what you're actually worried about is that using AI for cognitive assistance will deplete our own cognition.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I just don't agree. I just don't think that will happen because um, if we can, what I would like to see is using AI as a tool. And we have already done this throughout all of history. So, right back to the stone tablet, humans have been trying to collect our intelligence and pass it on. And then the book, we tried to collect our intelligence and we tried to pass it on. And that happened through every technology since, every communications technology, right through the computer. And now, why I think AI it was always going to go this way was because are finding a way to collect our intellect. But again, what has always made the species successful is that we were able to collect that and pass it on to future generations. So we could learn from each other and we could do it fairly quickly. And now there is obviously a difference between, what's happening with AI and simply the book. But I think if it's used wisely by human intellect, it's like it's like you can like if you already are not that smart, you're not going to know how to use AI in smart ways. If you are very smart, you will use AI in very smart ways. And that's only at the present version of AI. Like the present version of simply going on and using ChatGPT, if you already have problem solving skills, you will know the right questions to ask. You'll know the information to give it. So you will get better use out of this tool. And I would see it more as a cognitive enhancement. It certainly is for me, that's for sure. Because it is able to store larger amounts of data and have better memory and quicker recall than I can have. It's not that I don't know how to do that on my own. Literally, I didn't have it until 2022. So obviously, we were able to do something right until then.
Mhm.
But what I would hope for the kids and is that we are teaching them critical thinking skills. And I'm working on it. Like that's my whole main business is soft skills. But we're teaching them critical thinking, problem solving skills, confidence, resilience, all these things that you don't think is connected to AI use, but absolutely, absolutely affects how somebody goes and uses this tool later. And oh my gosh, one day we have internet out for the day. Do they still know how to write? Well, they should. Like, we should not be taking writing out of school. We should be showing people how the computer or how AI could assist their own thinking.
So does that mean that it very much depends on the person itself, if he is going to have enhanced intelligence with AI or not? Because there could be many people, very young people, and they just try to prompt something on AI and just believe on whatever comes.
I do believe that will happen too. And I believe that AI has the potential to bring everyone to a base level of intelligence. So let's say something like ChatGPT is at the average age of a 15-year-old, and to be very clear, a 15-year-old in America with Western values. Then anyone who has access to that LLM could expect, at least what I would expect from them moving forward in the future, is that you have at least that level of intelligence because you have a tool that has that level of intelligence. So then what I believe will happen with humanity, which happens all of the time, whether it's physical, mental, is that if everybody is at a 15-year-old's intelligence, which is not true right now, by the way, um, then we can innovate in different ways. You will still have people for whom, most people, that would not be enough. However, by about 2025 to 2029, you will see a version of AI that is at the intelligence of a fully grown adult engineer.
So, yeah, and that seems like a very optimistic future. Like
Well,
everybody
only if
having,
we decide it is. It's only optimistic if we decide it is. And to your point, when you said, "Does it matter?" Then it matters a lot who is using it. Of course, it matters who's using it. It's
yeah,
always mattered in history who is using the technology and their aim. So that would be called social determination theory. The other one is technological determination theory that's often posed against each other. What comes first? Does tech determine how we act, or do our social natures influence how we use the tech? Well, most people would say that it's a circle and that we influence each other. But, you can kill somebody with a knife or you can use it to cut dinner.
yeah, yeah. So, and do you believe that uh, with our current level of maturity in the world, or the people and the maturity level of the general population in the world, we are ready to handle this kind of exponentially growing and complex technology?
No, I don't think that we've taken care enough of people globally for them to want to take care of others with this technology. That's if it was released widely. That's why I do think that there should be kind of government regulation here. I in my version of what government should be doing is they should be protecting the people. Does that always happen? No, not in my opinion. I think some governments waver on protecting big business over the people, and that's not what they should do. And people should be upset about that when that happens. And um, however, you and I met at AI for Good, a United Nations summit in Geneva, and that is a perfect example of the things that I see in my life. People around me do not see that. Whenever I talk about AI, what they see on their news is, oh, we're going to lose jobs or we're going to like all this scary stuff. They think about the Terminator. And, but when I went to that conference and who I get to surround myself with, people like yourself, good people use AI for good. Good people use any tool for good. And I just mean to be of service. Like people who care about people, planet, posterity will use any tool they're given for those things. And so it's my unrelated to technology, it's my belief that if we take care of people in every level of their needs, their food, their safety, security, their belonging, that they would be more likely to use any technology for good. And so it might sound unrelated at first, but something like global healthcare and free education, to me, is actually an insurance policy for people using technology for good. And there's a few leaps in there, but that would be my belief.
Yeah, I see your point, because it makes perfect sense, because a lot of crimes in the world happens because a lot of people, their basic necessities are not met, and
That's
if
right. And that
they
means
can
mental
get
too.
if they can get universal basic income as a result of AI productivity, then uh, probably not probably for sure there will be decrease in all kind of social issues. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you take care of people's basic needs. And when I say basic, gosh, basic is like, oof, so low. If we were talking kind of the Maslow Blackfoot hierarchy of needs, that is just so low on the needs level is to give people food and shelter and security and safety. When we start getting into like belonging and esteem needs, self-actualization, transcendence, and community actualization, which is where I'm trying to my best in my lifetime in the work that I do is to get anyone who interacts with me past those base needs. Well then yes, people I think are much more likely to be of service. It's been my experience that when people are self-actualized, the only next step is to pass that on to others. It's the only next step.
Could you please explain the self actualized? What do you mean by that?
Okay, yes, I can. Thank you for for probing me. Basically So I'm subscribing to the Maslow Blackfoot hierarchy of needs here. So if you're not if you're listening and you're not familiar with that, the idea is that humans have basic needs that need to be met in order to move up this hierarchy. Now, for example, if you don't have biological or physiological needs met, like air and oxygen and sleep and food and water, then it will be harder to get to safety needs like shelter and security and stability. And if those aren't met, it would be harder to get to belonging, like acceptance and friendships. Above that would be esteem, like achievement, respect, competence. Above that would be cognitive needs like a knowing and understanding, a curiosity, all very, very human things. Self actualization is often posed as what a lot of people in the public think is the top of Maslow's hierarchy, which is fulfilling your personal potential. Because the idea is that because all of your other needs are met, you are able to fulfill your personal potential and that this is completeness, that this is the goal of a human on earth. What's actually misunderstood very often is that Maslow and the Blackfoot indigenous tribe that inspired Maslow, they never intended it to stop at self actualization. It's really been the Western world that stopped it there. In fact, Maslow suggests that it should go beyond you figuring yourself out and solving all your own needs. It should actually go to self transcendence. Once you pass actualizing your own self, fulfilling your own potential, that it must be passed on to others. And the Blackfoot tribe that inspired this idea of what humans need to be their best selves and offer something to the world, they actually put self-actualization at the very bottom of the needs. They said once you reach this, then you move to community actualization. So all the thinkers of the past, and I would subscribe to this just with my own thoughts now, is that people for whom all needs are taken care of, it is my belief that most people will help others. Most people will go beyond themselves to how can I be of service to the community, the planet, and posterity. And that means, though, so like many people, when you say that, they automatically think about money. They automatically think about, well, I know people that have a lot of money, but they're jerks. They just spend it on themselves. And I would argue that's probably because they don't have other needs met. They may have basic needs met, but it's very possible they do not have safety needs met. They don't have mental belonging needs met. And so if you can build on these in each other, again, I know this sounds like we're getting away from AI and technology, but it's my belief that if we started helping each other build these needs, that everybody would be more inclined to use any technology for better.
Well, I'm really liking this discussion, even
Oh,
though
good.
it's going away from AI.
That's all right.
Uh,
Here's the thing. I want everybody listening to know that if AI is it's just the phrase we're using right now, this will be ubiquitous in the future. Just like we talk about computers now. I mean, everyone has computing technology at their hands, and we just don't even talk about it that much anymore. AI will be ubiquitous in the future, but what has always been here is the human. And well, actually, even that's not true. but but what has been here, regardless of the technology that we've created, is our own desire to communicate, collaborate, transcend, understand, and build.
I, I completely agree with what you just said. And then it makes me think that only this meeting the basic needs is not sufficient for people to be a feel fulfilled or happy or to help community. Probably we also need to develop technologies which can try to fulfill other areas which you just mentioned, and then when
Yeah.
there all those things will be met, and then as you said that they will be mostly doing good rather than being frustrated with life or some part of life and
Mm.
doing bad in some areas of life.
Well,
So
you're asking the right questions, Sanjeev. You're starting to ask the right questions, which is what I would hope everybody does. No, basic needs are not enough to ensure that people act in the best interest of others, the planet, and posterity. But it is absolutely the first step. Because if you can't eat or sleep, how can you possibly focus on your own personal development? But at the same time, we all know the stories. And why do these stories resonate with us? These because we know the people, even like every prophet of every religion ever, I swear, was probably poor and still found a way to give people belonging, to give them esteem, to give them even to help them find self-actualization. And so another common misunderstanding about these, the Blackfoot Maslow hierarchy of needs is that one must happen before the other. That was never how it was theorized. You can have one foot in basic needs and one hand in esteem needs. And that means it's also really important for us. The question that you're starting to ask, which I really love, is could we build technology to help people meet other needs other than basic needs? I mean, we should be doing basic needs too, because I think technology could help with that. But yes, we could. Absolutely, we could. That means that I can also use AI and am to help someone like you feel safer, belong more, engage with your cognitive desire to know and to understand and to learn, even if you didn't sleep well that night. I can do that for you.
Yeah. And another perspective to the same topic, that there are some people whom in their life their basic needs are not met, but they still do good to the society.
That's right.
And there is some other set of people who have everything in the life, still they want more and more,
That's right.
uh, 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 basic on human nature itself. So could it be that if we companies, big companies or new startups, if they focus on changing people attitude itself, mindset itself, then even if they're then in that case, even if their basic needs are not met, it could be that most of the people will try to do more good to the world. What do you think
Yes.
on this take?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I still believe that we have more than enough in this world to be taking care of everybody's basic needs. And all you can rely on me is that I am trying in my own way to make that true. And I vote how I think will make that true. And we're just all global citizen, but we all act from whatever we can do. But I think that you are just right there. There are a ton of communities who are probably poor, struggling with basic needs, physiological needs, but are doing better for the planet and for posterity, as in the future generations, than a lot of people who have like the money to take care of their basic needs.
Yeah, yeah,
I would
yeah,
respect that more as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Because
think most
for
people would, really. I think most people, you say, what do you respect more? Someone who hasn't been able to meet their own basic needs, but has helped others meet other needs, like belonging, like friendship, like acceptance. Most people respect that more than someone who just meets their own basic needs with money and nothing else.
yeah, yeah, probably world really need that kind of technology which can make people realize uh, what's really good, what's bad, and to become wiser rather than smarter. So if people become wise, then they can choose the right goals or they can pursue the right goals. And if they are just intelligent, then they will just follow goals of some other successful people or the herd, where everybody is going, they will just rush in that direction rather than doing the things which are really required in the world, like working for climate change, the work which you are doing, these kind of things. So yeah,
Well, I only have my own small sliver, I can't do everything, but what I try to do is help people build the skills that they will arrive at this. Because I teach soft skills, so critical thinking would be part of that, but also how we build, workplaces that make people happy, or how we consider well-being as a metric of success for a country instead of just GDP. What do you consider success? And I realize that what we're getting into here is, it seems like it'll actually be in the spiritual realm for many people. Many people will consider some of this conversation part of their spiritual or religious experience, and that's okay. Like whatever you want to call it. Some people call it purpose. Some people call it like a life's mission. Some people call it God's given the text of humanity. Right? There's really like so many I guess theories on what is the purpose and what does it mean to be human, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very clear on what I think about that. And that's why I'm able to to communicate it, and I'm able to use technology for those aims. And I think we can actually help people get clear. I don't actually think it. I know it because we do it. We can help people become clear on a purpose, you know? And that takes a level of self-awareness, some experience, some knowledge, some decision making, and those three things we would call wisdom, the overlap of knowledge, experience, and decision making.
Yeah, very true. And probably technology is one of the best tool to accomplish that, because it has reached to billions of people. I think even poor people have mobile phone with all the apps. Technology has gone to that cheap, uh, and uh, and that means if we want to bring this kind of change or awareness, then the quickest way to bring it to most of the people in the world is probably building it in technology, or including it in some sort of technology.
Well, I'm very glad you said that because actually, people don't know this right now, but we, myself and my colleagues, are actually working on building a wise AI.
Wise AI. Wow, I'm happy to know, because for a long time I was thinking about that that only one of the best ways to counter the bad impact of AI or any technology is to create a wise AI, or which can uh, help in creating those capabilities in the people to be able to handle this kind of complex technology. So I'm glad that
Yeah,
you are already working on that.
that's right.
I'm quite happy to know that.
I actually believe that in the future, this might be going a little too far, but we like to philosophize on this podcast. I actually think everyone will have their own personal LLM. They will have their own personal large language model and their own personal AI that is the extension of themselves. And social media profiles are an early iteration of that. But you can already see with kids these days, their digital extension, their online profiles, they don't fully see it as different from who they are, like their life. They don't say like my social media life and my offline life. They say like, it's just life. They've never known life without it. I think there will be a future where your AI extension is just normal.
Yeah, it really depends on how you develop that AI.
Yeah.
Means if you give them goal, if people can select the goal, this is me, and I want to be like that person, or I want to achieve
Wow.
something,
Yep.
and then and then AI can give the best way without harming the world, or with the least
Wow.
harm to the world. Then
Well,
yeah.
you said it, because part of a wise AI is that they can mentor you and that you trust its judgment. You have to be willing to take the advice of an AI in order for it to help you be wise. Now, what would help you feel comfortable taking advice from an AI? Well, transparency. How did this information get here? What is it based on? Um, like all these sorts of things, right? So it's kind of the same way if you think about it. I'm just thinking out loud here, but if I was to select my own mentor or my own coach offline, I'd probably want to know those things. Like how did you make decisions, and where'd you get this information, and what career did you build? Like I'd probably want to know similar things. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really sounds like you are doing a lot of innovative and good stuff in this sphere.
Yeah, well, we're trying. It's a lot of the things we're talking about, they are far off and equally not at the same time. Like, the technology is developing rapidly to be able to have uses like this, but we need to ensure that the social uses are developing too, that the people are developing alongside what the technology is capable of. For example, a great example is electric vehicles. We have had the technology to create electric vehicles for a very long time. How the market used it and how it was pushed off to the side for many years was humans. It was not because we couldn't do it.
So why it's like that? If we just take an example of your means just good use cases of AI, why people will be not adopting it quicker rather than later?
The first capitalism. Like, yeah, I think that's pretty much why. Is that the main reason that electric cars were not adopted more quickly was because there was interests from car companies to not have this technology take over, and there was interest from oil companies too. So if there's capital interests in positive uses of, or I guess, like, if there's capital interests in preventing positive uses of new technology, we should all be very suspect of that. We should all be asking, how does something make everyone's life better? And I think the Blackfoot Maslow hierarchy of needs, for me, is a really great place to start if you've not thought about this before. How does the technology help people meet any of these? Any? And is it in the best interest of, people, the planet, and posterity, which is the future? I think that's a great question to start by asking.
Yeah.
And if it's not, we should all be suspect of that. We should all be thinking, well, why wouldn't a government choose this? If it's in the best interest of people, planet, and posterity, why wouldn't a government choose this? And then you start getting into all the other things we talked about, like the risks and business interests and polarization and people that benefit from keeping people divided instead of united. Because there's absolutely interests, there is some people benefit from that, some groups benefit from people not working together.
Yeah, some
Some business
political
Yeah, a lot of
in some
business benefits
countries.
from that too, right? It's better to have individual consumers than to have community care, for example. So it all plays together, and to think that when you're talking about AI, you're just talking about the technology, that will never be true. And that's why and that's why I'm a humanities social science person, right? Because you're not. You are in to me it's inextricably linked from the social determinants.
And what could solve this for AI, good use cases of AI? So we just discussed about these things are obstacles, and what could be the probable solution? Just
Well, now you're really getting into, like, like, what, um, how to solve the world's problems. Well,
no
here's the
means
thing. No, it's
just
right. It's
not
great.
in very deep, but some overview, like just a direction for the audience. Like, okay, so
Yeah,
these
yeah,
things are stopping from good things to come in the world
yeah,
quickly. Then what direction development should be done to counter that?
yeah. I mean, there's things that you can do, I suppose, as an individual. Like, one of the things that my husband and I are working on right now is that we're kind of committing our lives in a way to a belief that with better leaders, you will have better systems and you will have people will be more taken care of, all this sort of stuff. And what does better leaders mean? Well, for us, we, abide by the same things I've talked to you about. We believe in more human centric, more transformational, transcendent styles of leadership that care about followers or that care about followership. One of the things my husband said to me recently was that right now we refer to leadership and followership, and he believes that those things will be on equal footing in the future. So so we believe better leaders would make better decisions for humans. And so if you right now listening are a people leader of any kind, I don't care if you are working in a grocery store and you manage cashiers, you are a people leader and you have a lot of influence on how people live their lives as adults and what they think is the way to go about treating the world. I would say, as an individual, if you want to keep it coming back to AI, then considering AI is a learning technology, it's going to learn, then how you use it actually matters. How you use it actually matters because it will learn from you and you will become the norm for how we as humans decide to use this. So use it well, become informed. That's a starting point for technology. And I would say, though this one needs to happen on your own somehow, if you most people will end up eventually at, finding your purpose. How can you help others, help the planet, and help future generations? And how can you do it? Everybody has their own gifts to offer. How can you do that? Would be something that I believe would be a great start for everybody.
I like your solution because
There's many. It's
learning.
not going to be just one thing, but it's going to be a lot of things.
Yeah, so this way, like training leaders to become better leader is one of the fastest way because they are quite influential. So if you try to teach everybody, whole population, it may take more time to bring the change compared to if you just teach their leader and then it will be quicker. So yeah, in terms of
Mm.
time involved, it's one of the quickest solution.
I mean, it's still probably going to be beyond my lifetime, but I don't care because I'm clear that, I'm clear on my own understanding of humanity, and me existing as Bailey right now is only going to be around for so long. But, other people, the planet in the future will be around a lot longer than me in this current vessel. So it's like not about me. And it is about me at the same time. But now again, I'm asking your listeners to consider kind of their own spiritual and philosophical thoughts about this stuff. So can't answer that for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you mention that it's probably going to take more than your lifetime, and this transformation or change, then
Better leaders.
for
you know, Creating good leaders might take longer than my lifetime, but I'm actually very hopeful that most people are good and that we have a real chance right now to use AI for good. A real chance.
yeah, yeah. So people are going to have a lot of free time because of the efficiency brought by AI usage. So probably they have to only work for 3 days, or work will be even optional. So then there will be a bit chaos in the world because their current purpose or their current work mindset will be completely changed. Then they have to literally find their purpose in life, especially for people who see work as their purpose in life. And that means the change which you are trying to bring in the world, it could be that since people will have a lot of time, and a lot of people will be really looking for what kind of work they should do. Probably they should work on themselves, personality development, to get better mindset to help other people or something like that, when universal basic income will be in place. And that means probably your this goal could be achieved in your lifetime because world will be quite different in a decade or so.
I'm saying like better leaders as a whole might take longer, but but I actually think there's a real opportunity right now to move things along quicker, and I wouldn't have said that in 2020 because of AI actually, and because of our connectivity, and because there is a very palpable discontent right now. And I've had the privilege of traveling a lot of places in the world and talking to a lot of people about deep things like this, most people are good. Most people do not want war. Most people want to take care of their families. They want to experience belonging. They want to experience esteem. And they usually end, when they have those things, they usually end up taking care of their communities in most cultures in the entire world. So, this discontent we have right now, there's like a distrust of systems and governments and big business. And honestly, I understand it. Like, I know why there is, but I hope and I am optimistic about the possibilities for people, good people, to come together and use this technology for good in our lifetime. And I hope that that encourages people because they may actually be alive to see some of these changes, like positive changes, hopefully.
And what those people will be doing in their free time, because they will be have quite some time left because of AI developments. What they will do of their cognitive surplus?
This is one of my favorite thought experiments because a friend of mine, uh, Dwayne Matthews, said, you know, when people are able to save time and they have a cognitive surplus, which is I now have extra time for which I can do things with my brain. And how are you going to spend that cognitive surplus? Are you going to spend it on watching TV, or are you going to work more, or are you going to scroll social media? And because you know what, on social media, there is a lot of people paying a lot of money to buy your cognitive surplus. So, who gets to decide? If you save 2 hours at work because you're AI assisted now, is that 2 hours that you get back for your life? Or does your boss get to decide how you spend that 2 hours? Or does your organization or does the government decide how you spend that time saved? Most people have not thought about that before. And it's like, well, they feel inherently like I should get to decide. They just feel that like in their heart. It's like, well, of course I should get to decide how I spend that free time I'm creating. Businesses would probably differ on that perspective. They'd probably say, well, we should decide. We're paying you for 8 hours. And if you're saving, and if we give you AI and you save 2 hours, well, then we should decide how that other 2 hours is spent. Right. And so you can see how both make a little bit of logical sense. A government might say, well, if everybody's saving 2 hours a day, we need to be working on the nation together. Like, we need to be doing volunteering each week or something like that. I don't know, right? I'm just throwing ideas out there. But yeah, so one thing that has helped me when we come back to that conversation about purpose or building, creating, I think I always refer to like learning, love, and leisure. Usually when humans have most of their needs met, they will probably engage in some form of learning, leisure, or community.
Very nice responses. I really got to learn a lot of new things today, and it's opened my mind. And with
Oh,
this,
good.
we are already at the end of our conversation. Do you have any final things to share?
No, I really enjoyed the conversation. I love a good thought experiment and philosophical discussion, and I love that AI provides us all a platform on which to have these conversations.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming to my podcast.
Thanks for having me.